welcome everybody. This is a video about the implicit association test, or IAT. This video is going to walk you through what the IAT is, but more importantly, it's going to show you how to actually make your own. If you look here, this is the table of contents for the video. Step 1 is just describing what the IAT is. Step 2, we are going to then take a look at the tool you can use yourself to actually make an IAT from scratch, which is pretty cool. There's a part of that tool that will need you to save your images in your Qualtrics account and then pull the images in with links and then put them into the tool. So that's step 3. Once the survey is created, we're gonna download it from the tool, the website, and then we're gonna upload it into Qualtrics. So that's step 4. And then step 5 is gonna be, once we have it in Qualtrics and once we've gotten some responses, I'm gonna show you how to export the data and then kind of make sense of it and then do some analysis as well. Cool, so let's get started. So part 1, the IAT stands for implicit association test. Okay, it is a test that measures your implicit biases, basically. In other words, it can test whether you associate certain characteristics more strongly with one group than you do with another. And I'm going to show you now a video for about 2 minutes, and this is going to describe a little bit more about the IAT. And it's also going to show you a bit of a visual of what happens during the actual test, so you can get a sense of kind of what's going on. Also, there is a resource page I'm going to show you here. So this has all the important links that you'll need in your own IAT creation, and I'm going to reference these throughout the video as they pop up. So the first one is this YouTube video. We're only going to watch the middle 2 minutes, but if you like to get more of a background, you can obviously click this link and then...
Writing's not that easy, but Grammarly can help.
I hope
this sentence is grammatically correct.
But I'm going to have the captions on as well in case it's not working.
Any two concepts. Quicker sorting means stronger association. The black-white race attitude test, for example, compares implicit attitudes toward 2 racial categories, black folks and white folks. Each racial category is represented by cropped photos of male faces. To begin, you're asked to sort the faces as quickly as possible. If you see a white face, hit a key to your left. If you see a black face, hit a key to your right. Next, you sort words that represent 2 attitudinal categories, good and bad. When you see a good word such as beauty, hit a key to your left. When you see a bad word such as filth, hit a key to your right. Now the real challenge starts. You're instructed to sort both photos and words, whatever flashes on the screen. For some runs, you are instructed to press the same key for white faces and good words, say on your left, and a different same key for black faces and bad words, say on your right. If you have a more positive association with white folks as compared to black folks, then in this particular arrangement, you will find your groove and fly through the test. Most of us do. But on other runs, which are randomized and counterbalanced, the IAT will give you different directions. Press the same key for white faces and bad words, and another same key for black faces and good words. In these runs, most players can't quite get into a groove, take longer to respond, and make more mistakes by hitting the wrong key. The average time differential between the 2 arrangements, white plus good as compared to black plus good, is called the IAT effect and reflects the strength of an attitude. On average, we might be a fraction of a second faster pairing white faces with good words than black faces with good words. This means that on average, we have an implicit preference for whites.
Okay, so just to recap that a little bit, basically what it's saying is if you are able to sort white faces with, like, for example, positive characteristics more more quickly than you're able to sort black faces with those same positive characteristics, then that reveals some kind of bias, right? And you can see that bias in the actual response times that come in. And and I guess the idea is that if they're more closely associated in your brain, you'll be able to travel between the ideas more quickly, and therefore you'll have a faster response time. So that's kind of a little bit about the test itself. I think actually, if you are planning on making an IAT, you should actually take a second now and pause the video and complete one for yourself. Okay. So they have a lot of them at Harvard's website. It's called Project Implicit, and it's actually in the resource page. So this is resource number 2. So let me show you these, and then I'm going to give you a chance to pause the video, and then you can actually go ahead and do one of these, which I recommend. Maybe not 100% necessary, but I certainly recommend it. So you click the consent form, and then you have all these options of these different IATs, and then you can just go ahead and take one, and then you can get the experience of going through it, right, and seeing how you did. Okay, so going back to the table of contents, now we're on step 2. So we've covered what is the IAT. Now we're going to look at an actual tool we can use to create our own IAT. Okay, so resource number 3 in the sheet is the main homepage of the website that has the tool in it. It's not the actual direct tool we're on yet, but it's the website that hosts the tool. Okay. So when we're on here, there's a lot of different stuff, but to go to the tool, we're first going to click this button here that says materials page. And then we're going to click on this link right here that says Shiny application. And this opens up the actual tool we're going to be using to make it from scratch. We basically put in our inputs. 2 quick notes before we start. The tool itself, the page I'm on right now, there's also a direct link to this in number 4. And basically everything I'm about to go through, if you want to see it in more detail or in writing, that's resource number 5. Okay, how to create an IAT at that link right there. It's like a walkthrough, basically. Okay. So yeah, so this is the tool, and this is where we're going to put in all of our inputs that we want to make an IAT out of. Okay, so we have the traits, which are like the good and the bad, which we saw in that video, and then we have the groups, which are like black and white, or like man and woman, or like different variations, right? For the purposes of this example, we're going to use a particular type. Okay, so what we're going to do, our example is going to be that we have the characteristics of leadership and non-leadership, and then the groups of men and women, basically. So we're going to see how strongly those ideas are associated with men and with women, and see if there's any difference in the response times that reveals a bit of bias, right? So let's do it. All right. So the IAT name, let's just do like IAT. Let's say IAT test number 2. And then, so this first chunk is the traits. So this is going to be the leadership, non-leadership information. You're going to keep it on words, and let's say this is leadership, and let's say this is non-leadership. Okay, and now we're going to define some words that are in those categories that we're going to see on the test. Okay, so I'm going to say confidence. I'm going to say for leadership, right? I'm going to say visionary. And I'm going to say competent. And for non-leadership, I'm going to say follower. I'm going to say incompetent. And I'm going to say submissive as well. Okay, so now we've filled out our traits, right? Those are, I'm going to be referring to those as the traits throughout the video. The next part is the bottom, right? And this is where we're going to put the images. But unfortunately, it's a bit of a complicated process, right? So we are now going to go into step number 3, which is saving images in Qualtrics, okay? So we're all set on our traits, and now we have to pull in our images, but I'm going to flip over to Qualtrics because that's where we're going to need to save our images. And then we're going to pull in the links to those images once they're in our library, and we're going to we're going to paste the links right in here, just like we wrote in those words above, okay? So I'm going to open up a new window in Chrome or the browser of your choosing. I'm going to go to Qualtrics and see my friend Tom Brady advertising survey software for some reason. There he is. Okay, so let's log in. Okay. So we are first going to go to our graphics library. Okay, you're going to click this, then you're going to click library. Then you're going to go here on the top to graphics library instead of survey library. So I've already done, I've already created one of the surveys in this with the same traits and people that I've described. So I already have some pictures here, right? But I'll show you at least, I'll add one picture so you can see kind of start to finish, okay? So let's add a picture of, and let's get a picture of a man to put in the survey, okay? So one note is that you're gonna wanna choose an image that's generally pretty square, right? You don't wanna have it be super wide or super long because then it's not gonna fit in the right way. So try to aim to get images that are already pretty square in their length to width ratios, right? Okay, let's take this guy. He looks pretty square. So let's save it. And example 1. And now let's upload it into our library, right? So this is how we're going to do it. We're going to click upload graphic, and then, you know, pretty self-explanatory here. I'm going to add it, and then I'm going to say upload. Okay, and it's now going to be added to my library, but it's not quite that simple. We need to do one more thing before we pull the link. So we need to go in and make sure it's the right size. Okay, so I'm going to click this, and then I'm going to do edit graphic. And then you have to change the first one to 250. Okay, and the aspect ratio is locked. So if you change if you scale down the length by a factor of 4, the same thing will be applied to the width, right? So it's going to stay the same shape, but it's just going to get much smaller. You don't worry too much about the second one. Just make sure the first one is 250. Okay. So then you save the changes, and now we're ready to pull in the link to this image. Okay. So we're going to click this again, and we're going to say copy URL. And now we're going to go back to the tool, and we're going to post this in as one of the men in the man category here. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so I'm going to change this to images, and I'm going to say we have group of men, we have a group of women, and then now we are going to add the links. So I'm going to put in the link that I just copied from that one that I just added. Okay, so I just added that. And now I'm going to pull in some other links from, I already formatted these other ones, so they're already that 250 size. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to add it here, and then I'm going to do the same for this guy over here. Okay, so let's add that as well, and then we're doing the women as well. So I'm going to put in. I already have these formatted, so we're just going to put them in nice and easy, right? Nice and simple. Number 1, number 2, and number 3. Okay, so we now have added all of our traits and all of our group images. So we are now done with the raw inputs of our survey. Okay, so we're now going to move on to step number 4, which is uploading the survey into Qualtrics. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to download a QSF file, right, a Qualtrics file from the tool. We're going to take out what we just did into a file, and then we're going to put that file into Qualtrics so the survey gets populated there, right? So you're going to go down here and you're going to click this right here, download Qualtrics survey. One very important note though, if you do not have a paid account, you will not be able to upload this into Qualtrics because it has branching logic. Okay, you will be able to download it. And then if you have a team member that has a paid account, then you can send it to them in an email or Slack, right? Either way. And then they can upload it into their paid account, right? So I don't have a paid account, but that's the way I did this, right? I downloaded it, I sent it to Riley. Actually, she has a paid account, and she uploaded it. And then people filled it out, And then she shared the data with me. So even though I have a free account, we still made it work that way. I'm still going to show you what it would look like, just to upload it, right? It's not going to work, but I'll show you what happens, right? So I'm going to click this download survey. I'm going to say agree. And then I'm going to click this to download. I'm going to show it in my folder to find it. Okay, so I'm going to just make sure I will know where to find this when I have to upload it. So I'm going to put it here. Okay, so now let's go to Qualtrics, and let's go back to the main page. And now let's do this button here, create new project, okay? So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna click on this first one that says survey, and then we're gonna click get started. We're gonna call it IAT, test number 2. And then you're gonna click this and you're gonna click import a QSF file, okay? I'm gonna do that. It's not gonna work for me because it has branching logic, but I'm gonna show you just, you're gonna find it, and you are going to try to upload it. I'm gonna say create project. Don't have permission, but if you have the paid account, that will work, right? So at this point, we're gonna imagine that I just uploaded the survey into my Qualtrics, because that's the stage we're at right now, okay? I'm not gonna show what it looks like in Qualtrics. That's something to just kind of explore and kind of flip through and see what it looks like. 2 notes on that though. Once it is in Qualtrics, it's fine to edit kind of the beginning and the end, and you probably will want to edit the end because the end is currently just like enter your text here, in like brackets. That's like saying you should do something. So you should edit the end probably, but do not touch the middle 4 blocks. Okay, so leave those alone. It'll mess with the formatting. Also, don't change the theme because those can both kind of mess with it when you try to do data analysis. So it's okay to edit the start and the end, but don't touch the middle and don't change the theme. Okay. I forgot to mention this, but that whole process we just went through with the images is also resource number 6 right here. So if you need more detail on that, there's a walkthrough there. Okay. But we're almost finished. So now we're on step number 5, and we're going to export the data from Qualtrics and do what analysis that we can on it. Okay. So the way you're supposed to download it from Qualtrics, right? So imagine the survey's in Qualtrics. 50 people have filled it out, and you want to look at the results, right? So go ahead, you're going to open up the data of the survey, right? And again, this was shared with me because I'm not actually hosting the survey myself because I don't have a paid account. So I'm going to open up the tab here, data and analysis. There's only 2 responses for this one, but then what I'm going to do, I'm going to click this button here and I'm going to click export. One important note as well. So in the guide, they say you must use a legacy export to make sure that it works, right? And a legacy export, I believe, is if you have a paid account, it will show up right here. It is not showing up for me. However, when I did it with my free account and the normal export, it still seemed to work. Okay, so if you're doing kind of like a quick and dirty, like just check, or you just want to kind of see the results real quick and you're not going to publish them or make them official in any way, you can probably get away with using a free account. But obviously, if you're doing it for anything more serious, you're going to want to use a paid account because frankly, I don't really understand what the difference is, but they just make it very clear in their guides that you should be using a legacy export. So just keep that in mind, okay? So we're going to download the CSV file here. I already have one that we can upload, so I'm not going to go through that, but it's simple, simple download, upload kind of situation. And now we're going to go back to our tool itself. And also just to shout this out, resource number 7 is a guide of what we're about to do now in more detail. Okay. So now we are back in our tool right here, right? So this is the input stuff. And now we're going to click this tab as well. So this is also where we're going to analyze. So it's kind of an all-in-one web page. So I'm going to choose a file of a very similar survey I've already made. and actually the one that I just showed you with the 2 results, and I'm gonna upload it just like this. Okay, so you have some basic information down here, right? I'm not sure what this is. I just leave it as NA. I'm not totally positive what's going on there. But yeah, there's some basic info, right? So number of participants is 2. The timeout rate is 0. Okay, so the timeout rate is basically, did they take way too long to finish the survey? So there's a cap on the amount of seconds that it can be before it gets like eliminated as a survey result, because it's like bad because they left their computer or something. You can adjust that amount of time right here. Okay, so that's adjustable. The next category is the participants who dropped due to excessive speed. That's like if they're just blindly going back and forth, it picks up on that. Although you can also edit those parameters here as well, okay? And that actually happened for one of the 2, unfortunately. So we only have like one good data result from this one. This is just a rate of errors. I think it's number of errors over number of sorts or something like that. One note as well, in the advanced settings, you can also add an error penalty if you want to, right? So sometimes they're set up as in like, it doesn't give you a penalty, but you have to first click the correct one before you proceed if you do make a mistake. But this one instead, you can design it a little differently. You can add a penalty, but then switch it to the next image, even if there is a mistake that's made, okay? Now we get to the D scores, and this is important. This is, to my understanding, the number one kind of measurement you're going to be looking at to interpret the results of the IAT, okay? So the D score is basically a measure of strength of the association you have with group 1, trait 1 and group 1, okay? So in other words, a positive D score means that you have a stronger association with trait 1, which is leadership in this case, and group 1, which is men. So again, a positive D score in this situation would be a more fast, stronger association with leadership and men, okay? On the other hand, a negative D score would indicate a stronger association with trait 1, still leadership, and group 2, which is women, okay? So in this case, you can look, the D score for our result is actually negative. So this participant had a stronger association with leadership and women than they did with leadership and men, okay? There's only one data point for the D scores, so it's not gonna give us a standard deviation, but obviously if you have more, it will, it gives you the simple data metrics of mean and standard deviation. And I will point out, yeah, this is mean. If you want to see each individual result, you can look in this little table down here, right? This is the first one, and then the one underneath is the bad data. So it did not calculate a D score. Yeah, and then the last thing is if you want to download just a nice kind of little neat table in Excel with participants and their D scores, you can just click this button right here. But yeah, that's it. So just to kind of recap, we covered what an IAT is. We then use the tool to create our own IAT from scratch. We had to go into Qualtrics and then link the images from there, which is how they recommend doing it. We then had to take the survey, download it, put it into Qualtrics, right? Get survey results in Qualtrics, and then once they come in, download that from Qualtrics and put it back in this tool, and then do the data analysis in this tool and take a look at the D scores as well as whether any of them were thrown out due to being bad data, okay? Hopefully that is helpful, and I'm excited to see some of the IATs that get made.